Hi, my name is Ashley, and I am the creator of the SeneBusiness Inventory and Profit Spreadsheet. If you've found my spreadsheet and are watching this video, then you may have questions or you just want a quick tutorial of how to navigate. And so today I'm going to go through and just hit on some of the highlights and talk about how you're going to work your way through the spreadsheet. So when you first open it, you're going to come in the introduction page. And so this is just information about the spreadsheet. Then on all of the gray tabs, the first one you come to is this Summary Documents tab. There are two others throughout the spreadsheet. What these are, they are basically your instructions for how to navigate the following tabs after them. So the first Summary Documents tab has the P&L summary, your beauty book list, available inventory, and customer list. And it just gives you information about and instructions about the actual tabs and how to go about updating them. These instructions were also included in the PDF that came with your file when you download it on Etsy, so you can reference that as well. So we'll go ahead and get started with the P&L Summary tab. When you first open it, everything is blank. And what's going to happen is as you go through and populate this sheet, then all these numbers will update. So we'll come back to this once we have some numbers to look at and talk about it then. The beauty book list is your next tab, and this is going to be kind of your main reference of all the products that are going to be sold in your spreadsheet. And so right now I have all the products as of basically April 12th in here, and it has the product number, product name, and retail price for each product. As you can see, the quantity available and the value of available inventory columns are both empty. Once you actually input some SeneGence orders and you have product in stock within the spreadsheet, then these columns will populate, and anything that gets populated with inventory will then show up as a green line, so you'll be able to identify what you have in stock. One of the things you can do as well, at the very end, I've left a bunch of blank spaces, so if you have inventory that is not currently in our stock anymore. So like, let's say you have 2016 inventory that we no longer carry, but you still have some in stock and you want to identify it in your sheet, you can go ahead and enter it in here. You can also, if SeneGence comes out with more products, then this is a place where you would put them as well. So let's say, for the sake of this exercise, I have some honey rose, and so that product number is 1230. And it's the Lip Sense Honey Rose, and it's $25. So now I've inputted in here, and it'll show up in the rest of my spreadsheet so I can use it. So it's just as simple as that. You just type in those three columns, and then you'll be able to use that throughout your spreadsheet. The next tab is the Available Inventory tab. When you first come to it, it's empty. But what I like to think of this tab as kind of my takeaway tab. And so if there's one thing that I want to have with me at all times, it's this tab. So I'll sometimes print this out in the morning. That way I just have a copy of what available inventory I have. So we'll come back to it and I'll show you what it looks like, but it's basically just going to have a table of all the products you have as well as what you have in stock. So let's go ahead and start populating something. We're going to populate the customer list first. This is a really important tab because you have to have a customer name in this column A in order for you to be able to select a customer to sell to later on in the sales tabs. So we're going to go ahead and I'll enter in a couple customer names. Let's say we have Jessica Smith, and I'm not going to worry about populating these other columns right now, but that's something that you probably want to do. It can be your master customer list, and so you'll only need the name in order for the spreadsheet to work, but I highly recommend filling in the rest of the columns as well. We'll go ahead and put in a couple of these. Say Lauren Cook, maybe Ashley, I don't know, Ashley Smith as well. I don't know. I'm just making up names. And let's say maybe Lauren really wants some blue-red. So I'm going to just type in my notes. Lauren wants a blue-red. So this is a place where you can keep notes. That way if something comes back in stock and you have it, then you can contact that customer. And it's an easy way to keep track of your notes. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Control A, and it's going to select the whole sheet. Then I'm going to come up here to the Data tab and say Sort. And I'm going to sort it by name and say OK. And so now I've got all of my customers in alphabetical order, and this is going to make it much easier for me to find that customer name later on when I actually input my sales. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, so I now come to another gray tab, and again I have some instructions on how to operate the next two tabs, so we'll just move on now. The first tab that I come to is my SeneBusiness orders. So let's say I have some 2016 inventory that I've carried over and I want to keep track of it in the spreadsheet so that I can sell it. So we're going to say I have some 2016 carryover, and let's say it's that honey rose that I input earlier. So that product number was 2030, and now it says honey rose, and let's say I bought it at 50% off and I have 10 of them in stock. I ordered 10 and I received 10. And so now I have those in my stock. Then I'm going to go ahead and put in another order. Let's say I placed an order on January 1st. And I'm going to say I did some Dawn Rising, dark pink, Dawn Rising, and maybe some eye illuminator. And so once I put in the product number, it'll go ahead and populate the product name for me. So it makes it a lot easier than having to type in a really long name. You just have 4 numbers you have to put in. And when you go to your SeneBusiness order form that you get as your receipt, it will actually have those product numbers in there. So you just look at that and it'll tell you what the product number is. Let's say since it's the first order of the month, I only had like a 40% discount level. And let me pretend I had 5 dark pink, maybe I ordered 3 Dawn Rising, and I ordered 7 of the eye illuminator. So you can see here what it does. Like, let's look at the eye illuminator for a minute. Cost of sales inventory. So this is the entire cost I paid for all 7 of these at the 40% discount. I paid $231. And the average cost for each item was $33. So like, let's say I go in and I actually had a 50% discount. Now that average cost changes to $27.50, and my total cost is $192.50. So you can toggle this, and it'll show you how it changes the average cost of the price. But we're going to say for this exercise that we're paying 40%, or we got a 40% discount level. I'm going to say that I received 5 of my dark pink, but maybe Dawn Rising was out of stock when I ordered it. And let's say I got all of my eye illuminator. We're going to come back over here. We'll look at the beauty book list. And as you can see now, I have 5 dark pink showing up in green. I have 7 eye illuminator in green. And I have 10 honey rose in green. So all of my inventory is accounted for. You might ask, why is Dawn Rising not showing up? And again, if we go back and look, it's because I have 0 here. If I change that to a 3 and I go back to the beauty book list, you can see now it's showing up and I have 3 there. We'll change it back to 0 for right now. When you go to the available inventory tab, the first time you refresh this, you're going to have to click on the header of the table. But once you do it one time, then you can click anywhere in the table. So we're going to click on the header, right click, and then say refresh. And now I have my stock. One of the things I always make sure I do is I come over here to this filter button and I click down and I just make sure that all of the numbers other than 0 are selected. That way I'm not missing some of the product in that table. So these are all my products I have. Okay, let's say that I did a trade with someone on the 15th. So I would come in here into this inventory adjustments tab and I would trade something. And let's say I traded out one of my dark pinks for a glossy. And so what I did is I'm going to say I have a -1 of the dark pink, but I have 1 of the glossy. And so my cost for the dark pink was $15. And so I'm going to put $15 in here for the glossy because that's what I traded for. And so if you come back over here to the available inventory, remember we had 5 dark pink. If I refresh it, now I only have 4, but I have 1 glossy. Okay, so that's basically all of the stock and inventory. The next tab is your sales and your expenses. And so I'm going to look at January sales first. Let's say I placed an order on the 20th and I sold some stock to Jessica. And let's say she ordered some of the dark pink. So I'll come in here and I'll find my product. Once I find my product, it populates the product number and it tells me how much quantity I have before I sell her anything, and then it's going to tell me how much is available after. So let's say that I sell her 2, and so now you can see I've sold her 2, and so there's only 2 left. It calculates the total price for those 2 as well as your total cost of those 2 goods. We're going to put in $4 for shipping, and let's say I gave her a $5 discount. And I'm not going to put in any taxes or processing fees. These columns here, the invoice sent, the invoice paid, and shipped, these are not required to fill out, but they turn red if you don't select them. So if I have sent her the invoice, I can say yes. If she's paid it, I can say yes. And maybe I haven't shipped it yet. So that would stay red, or I could put no. And maybe I'd put a note as to why I haven't shipped it yet. But it's just a way for you to track your orders and figure out where you are in the process for each of them. Let's say I had some income here. I'll put in $500. I don't know I don't know what that would be. So let's put it in. Let's put it in the SeneCar at $500 for SeneCar in January. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our expenses tab. So one of the things that you are going to want to input here is any order from SeneGence, if you keep product testers, or if you have any taxes or shipping. So when you place an order with SeneGence, if you have tax or you have shipping, which you basically always do, you're going to want to put it in here. You don't put it in the SeneGence orders tab. So we're going to say this is my taxes paid, this is my shipping cost, and so for this order that I had here on the 1st, I put all of that information here in the January expenses. And let's say I paid $5.50 for taxes and I paid $10.50 for shipping. So that would come in here, and you can see now it's been populated over here in this expense categories tab. If I kept something for testers, so let's say that I kept an eye illuminator for a tester, it's going to change my cost of sales inventory. You can see that how it changes. So it basically takes it out of inventory, and instead it becomes an expense. So I need to know how much this cost and put it in my expense tab. So the average cost was $33. I had one of them. I'm going to come over here and say I had an eye illuminator, and it's going to be a sample or a tester, and I paid $33 for it. And so now it shows up as a sample or a tester. And so you want to make sure it comes out of your stock and that you're accounting for it in your expenses. Any other orders you have, maybe let's say I ordered something off of Etsy, and it was some, I don't know, maybe business card templates. I'm going to say that was maybe advertising, and I paid $10 for that. And maybe there was a shipping cost associated with it. I would go ahead and also enter that in here, and maybe there was a $2 shipping fee. So make sure that you always keep your shipping and your taxes separate if possible. So let's go over here now, and we're going to look at the P&L summary, since we didn't do that sooner. So you can see now it's got the month by month. Nothing is populated in the other months because I've only input stuff in January at this point. And so if you remember, I sold 2 lip scents, so it was $50. I charged Jessica $4, and I gave her a $5 discount, so that's carrying over here. My SeneCar money is showing up, and so that's my total income. It's basically everything that I've made off of those gross sales. My cost of goods then comes down in here, and that gets deducted from my sales, which gives me my gross profit. And then over here I have my expense tabs, and it shows me all of my expenses that I've input and sums it up, gives me my gross expense, and then my net profit to loss is just my gross profit minus my gross expenses, and that's here. And then I always keep this here, the remaining inventory value. I think it's just useful. That way you can know how much product you still have in inventory and what the total value of that product might be. So this is more of just for your reference, but the net profit to loss is really what you are interested in as your business, to see if you're making a profit or a loss at that point in time. that's the basic gist of the spreadsheet. Thanks for taking a few minutes with me, and I hope you like it. If you have questions, please contact me, email me, let me know. Thanks.